in a confrontation of champions as they come toward the top of the stretch. And they're into the stretch. And here we go. Songbird set down. Beholder is alongside.
The 7-year wait is over. American Pharoah is finally the one. American Pharoah has won.
He's just perfect. And now he's just immortal.
Here's the winner. Desperately close. Tisno wins it for America.
Hello, welcome to the Capital OTB Weekend Stakes Preview. Sully Crotty and Mike Callahan. Mike, how you doing?
Sully, what's going on? Glad to see you in person. Last week we did it via phone, so back in the office taking a look at this weekend's action in a loaded card at Saratoga, but also one interesting one in the West Virginia Derby that we'll talk about.
Yeah, we're going to look at 5 races as we always do, 4 of them at Saratoga, and then one at Mountaineer, the West Virginia Derby, which is actually a pretty good race. It's a grade 3, $500,000, and big favorite in there with Mr. Money, and they kind of voted out the Travers, fit in better here. It's still a lot of money, so you can't blame the connections. But again, 4 at Saratoga, 1 at Mountaineer. The first race we are going to look at is the 8th race at Mountaineer. 5:35 post time in Eastern. This is the grade 3 West Virginia Derby. This is for 3-year-olds. Mile and an eighth on the main track. Again, $500,000 on the line in the West Virginia Derby. And then we'll look at 4 in Saratoga, starting with the 5th race Saturday afternoon. This is the Troy grade 3 event, 5.5 furlong sprint on the turf course, $200,000 on the line for 3-year-olds and up, with a heavy favorite in their World of Trouble. The 7th race at Saratoga Saturday afternoon, restricted stakes. This is the Lure, $100,000 on the line for 4-year-olds and up. They're going a mile and a 16th on the inner turf course. We'll take a look at the 8th race Saturday afternoon. This is the Longines Test, grade 1 event, $500,000 on the line. This is for 3-year-old fillies. They're going 7 furlongs on the main track, and then we'll look at the highlight of a very good Saturday card at Saratoga. The 9th race, the Whitney, grade 1 event, $1 million on the line for 3-year-olds and up. They're going a mile and an eighth on the main track.
Let's go back and take a look at that Mountaineer race on Saturday, which is one of their big events at Mountaineer all year long. And it's the grade 3 West Virginia Derby. Like you said, Mr. Money is a horse to me I wanted to see up at Saratoga. He's just been so good the last 3 races, all of them being grade 3 events. They've been against 3-year-olds, obviously, so this would be considered the B team, with obviously the A team running in the Triple Crown, and then also going up, to Saratoga for the Travers, down at Monmouth and the Haskell. But Mr. Money's been so good, and the Buyers have been really good comparative to the A team in the 3-year-old division. The 99, the last 2 starts, very impressive. Last one at Indiana, the workout sense. So this horse is just in career best form at this point. There's a lot to like with Mr. Money at 65.
Yeah, I'm not trying to beat him in here. And, I was a little skeptical of him stretching back out from the Pathé Mile at Churchill, going to a mile and a 16th. I always thought he wasn't a very good 2-turn horse, but he raced in the Louisiana Derby and the Risen Stars. You can't really hold much against him. In those 2 races, deep fields, absolutely stacked. War Will in there, the Preakness winner, spin-off a horse I know you and I both like, in Country House, the eventual Derby winner. So Mr. Money, I think it's going to be tough to beat here for Brett Calhoun. As you said, the workouts have been absolutely phenomenal. Nice bullet work on July 26th. The horse is coming out of the Indiana Derby in very good form. And again, I just think this horse is a little bit classier than this bunch in this spot. So I think 6-5. The horse is probably going off even money, a little bit lower than even money in this spot. The number 8 Math Wizard I'm going to use in the second spot. I just think with the amount of speed in here, before the 1 and the 8 coming from off the pace. And Math Wizard, I thought, ran a pretty good Indiana Derby last time out. The Ohio Derby lost to Owendale, who actually ran a very credible race that day. Math Wizard did. Florent Giroux will be having the riding assignment at Mountaineer. So again, I thought the Indiana Derby against Mr. Money and Gray Magician, I didn't think it was a bad race at all. The horse got a 92 buyer. I think this horse can revert back to that Ohio Derby where this horse ran a 98 buyer against Owendale, who I think would put up a good fight against Mr. Money in here. I'd like the 5-1 price. And then the 4 plus K Parfait. Brennan Walsh, Corey Landry in town to ride. Obviously, this horse looked great in the UA Derby, won that race, beating Gray Magician. You can throw out the Kentucky Derby, the Belmont Derby. I didn't think it was bad at all either. Henley's Joy looked great. Now this horse going back to the dirt where the horse has had a lot more success. I think 7-2 is very good value for Plus K Parfait. But for me in the West Virginia Derby, I think it's going to be tough to beat Mr. Money. If you want to go against him, I think you can use 2 or 3 others in here if you're playing multiples. But for me, I went 9, 8, 4, and 7.
Yeah, I went 4, 9, and 7 here. I think Mr. Money's going to be 3 to 5 in this spot, and deservedly so. So I took a small shot with Plus K Parfait, a horse that was really good and pretty much had the breakout race of the career in the UAE Derby. But again, that was against the B, possibly C team over there. But was very impressive that day, getting up to win by 3/4 of a length against Gray Magician. Now compare that. Gray Magician actually just faced Mr. Money and finished a solid second, beating 2.5. So I think Plus K Parfait at the price you're going to get, 7-2, I think that's going to hold in here. A horse that, comparatively speaking, is close in the buyer category. Does need to improve, but a horse coming off of that turf effort in the Belmont Derby, the workout sense at Churchill Downs has been very good. Corey Landry is going to get aboard for the first time. I think you just, as an alternative, and it's a small shot because I do think that Mr. Money does look to be a serious and major contender, the most likely horse to win the race. But at the price you're going to get, I'll use Plus K Parfait on top. Underneath Mr. Money in the second spot for all the reasons we already talked about. And then in the third spot, the 7, Top Line Growth. I think this horse is kind of interesting. Broke the maiden very impressively at the maiden claiming level at Laurel. Then went into a restricted stakes at Pimlico, faced King for a Day, who we know beat Maximum Security, and then Tonebroke, who just went up to Fort Erie and won the second leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. So we'll see if this horse is okay. Finished second last time in the Iowa Derby and then was elevated off of a DQ. So kind of an interesting horse for Kelly Rubley. Julian Pimentel is going to be aboard. Been aboard for all 4 career starts at 8-1. If you're looking for an alternative to Mr. Money and Plus K Parfait, I think that Top Line Growth at 8-1 may be a horse you want to use in here. So for me, I had 4, 9, 7. Your thoughts one more time?
9, 8, 4, and 7.
All right, now let's kick off this Saturday at Saratoga, and this is a tremendous Saturday. I mean, we're going to talk about 4 stakes in here. There's also another one that we could talk about as well. But there are some serious and notable names that will kick it off in the 5th at Saratoga, which is the Grade 3 Troy on Saturday. And you're going to see one notable name, World of Trouble, who's probably one of the coolest horses you could ever imagine. A horse that's 4 for 5 lifetime on the turf, 3 for 3 over a dirt wet off-going type surface, and then is 2 for 5 over a dirt fast track. This horse can run on either or. I do prefer him on turf, and that's what he's going to get at on Saturday. But a horse that's searching for 6 in a row, coming off for a grade win at Belmont, 3 to 5 on the morning line. Everybody has to beat World of Trouble in here.
Yeah, and we tried to beat him in the Jaipur last time. I remember that. I tried to beat him with Disco Partner. I'm going to use Disco Partner in the early pick 5. I'm probably going to go 3 deep in here in the pick 5. Try to take a shot with Wet Your Whistle, but it's going to be very, very tough to beat World of Trouble. If you have a certain amount of bankroll, this is your single. Try to get some prices earlier on if you're playing the early pick 5. But as you said, he has done absolutely nothing wrong on any surface for Jason Service. I think in here this is just another big. I think the Jaipur was a much tougher race than this, and it's just a stepping stone to see what happens in the fall in the Breeders' Cup. So I do have World of Trouble on top. I'm not going to try to beat the horse in here. Wet Your Whistle at 8-1 I think is very interesting for Michael Trombetta, a horse that can win from off the pace, and we saw that last time out in a Grade 1 event up at Woodbine. Beat some nice horses in White Flag and Extravagant Kid. At the distance, the horse has done well, but at Saratoga has not been so kind. This is a horse that was a little bit forwardly placed the last start at Saratoga, but that was a route distance. They cut the horse back since then. They switched back to the turf course. And then at Woodbine, as I said last time out, looked very, very good from off the pace. So I don't think the horse could be 8 lengths off the lead and expect to win today. Has to be a little bit closer, like 2 back in the non-graded stakes at Monmouth. I think Wet Your Whistle 8-1. You could get back a little bit better of an exacta if you did use Disco Partner, who I'm going to use in the 3rd spot. I like Disco Partner in the Jaipur. I'm going to use defensively in here. The one question mark is, can this horse win at the distance? 1 for 7, but 6 for 7 in the money. Christophe Clement's having a very good meet. He's running the money 11 times in 18 starts, coming off a very good Belmont Spring Summer meet. Irad Ortiz, a nice closing speed horse as well. So I think if World of Trouble doesn't get the lead, can he win this race? I don't know. This horse has always been on the lead the entire way. Pure Sensation's the other speed in here. Rocket Heat is absolutely going to go with Chris Lindero. So we'll see who gets the lead in here. They're going to be going very quick. So I just wanted to back World of Trouble up with Wet Your Whistle and Disco Partner, horses that can win from off the pace. But for me in the Troy, 1-5, 2 and 3.
You had it 1-5-2 as well, and this is so funny because we talked about a similar race, obviously different surfaces, different situation, but with Mitole last week. Mitole had inside speed and had drawn inside the other speed. This is the same thing with World of Trouble. Normally, he's been able to draw outside the other speed, which makes it great for him because he's able to kind of dictate what he wants to do. Now World of Trouble draws inside the other speed, which is Pure Sensation. And Pure Sensation out of the 3-hole is going to do no favors to World of Trouble in here. They are both going to go, and they could potentially get softened up for, like you said, Wet Your Whistle or Disco Partner. So for me, I do have World of Trouble on top. I do still think that he's a really good horse, and he could overcome the fact that Pure Sensation is just going to go full bore right at this horse and may be able to still have enough in the tank to hold off Wet Your Whistle and Disco Partner. But there's always that situation, and again, Saratoga is the graveyard of favorites, that they do get dueled into submission in here, and you could see Disco Partner and Wet Your Whistle come flying late and get past these horses. So for me, I do have World of Trouble on top, but it's not my strongest opinion of the day at 3 to 5 in the morning line. Wet Your Whistle in the second spot, which I think is going to draw a lot of attention in here. We actually got a chance to see this horse up at Woodbine when we were up there for the Queen's Plate. This horse ran on the undercard and came home really quick, 107-4 for that 6. Cutting back to 5.5, slight question mark. I know this horse has been able to do it twice already at 5.5, but the way this pace sets up in here, I do think Wet Your Whistle should be able to benefit from that and will be storming home late. And then Disco Partner, same thing as well. Another horse that likes to come from out of it. I do like the old Disco Partner. I think age is sort of caught up to this old fella in this spot. But again, another one that's put in some decent efforts in 2019, but still hasn't achieved that really peak point in the 2019 campaign. So third start into the season, you could see Disco Partner, who does like it here at Saratoga with a win and 3 for 4 in the money. Another one that could be running late as well. So I have it 1-5-2. I know you have it 1-5-2 as well. As we will take a look now and transition to race number 7 at Saratoga on Saturday. It is the Lure. Mile and 16th on the inner turf. And it's a wide open race when you're taking a look at the morning line in here, but I think at post time you're going to see a lot of attention going to the 5 Sacred Life, who's going to be a first time starter in North America, that is, for Chad Brown. And again, everything to me is going to be based around the fact that this horse has been training with Mascha, who we just saw win at Allowance at Wednesday up at Saratoga. Very impressively. Had that Euro kick. I expect this horse to have the same Euro kick. I love Sacred Life in this spot. I'm going to use it on top. What were your thoughts on the Lure?
I did use Sacred Life on top. You like the connections. Chad's so good, first-time starters in North America. Ran well overseas in some group graded stakes. So and dropping some weight in Lasix first time. So Chad's really good with these first-time starters here in North America. And again, you got to like the connections on Mike Dove. But I had the 2-9 and the 7 underneath the 5. I think this horse will go up a little bit. The Kiernan runner and the Godolphin runner, the number 2 in here, who I think second off a year layoff is going to be even more improved. And beat Noble Indy, who actually has looked great on the turf the first 2 starts. But I just thought it was very, very good off the bench. You got a 2.5 to 1 price. Beat a very good horse in Therapist, and Noble Indy, as I said, looked great the first couple on the turf course. So I'm going to use this horse second off a very long layoff for Kieran McLaughlin. Pretty slow in the winner's circle for Kieran, only 1 for 17, but his horses have been competitive. And this is a horse that lost to Yoshida on the turf by a neck. Ran well against Synchrony and Arklow. Zulu Alpha I also liked in the last week in the Bowling Green. I didn't think had the best of trips, but ran okay. So, and lost to Robert Bruce by a length. So I think this horse will take a little bit of money as well. I just think the first off the bench was a very, very impressive win. The number 9 for me in the third spot, that's Guido, a horse that I had respected for Todd Pletcher for a long time. Went wire to wire in the in an optional claimer. Tried to go wire to wire in the Forbidden Apple. And that was earlier in the meet at Saratoga. Lost to Mr. Haverkamp that we know up at Woodbine, who had a perfect trip. They went pretty quick, I thought, for the amount of horses in there that kind of set the race up for the closers in there. But this is a horse that's going to be on the front end. Voodoo Song is going to go as well, so I'm going to use the 2 speed horses third and fourth. But again, I think Chad's going to be very, very tough to beat in here, and has a real shot of hitting his own exacta or his own triple. The amount of times you've seen Chad go 1, 2, 3 in these type of races, has a very good shot to do it again today. I'm going to try to get some prices underneath Chad, but I went 5, 2, 9, and 7 in the lower.
Yeah, we'll try to go the Chad exact in here, 5, 8, 7, and 3. And I do like Sacred Life for all the reasons you talked about. There are question marks about how these Euros come over here, but Chad just every single time, it seems, able to get these horses to work together and put in big efforts first time out up here in North America. So we'll see if this horse can get the job done. And you take a look at the 4-back race with Gayeth. That was actually a really good effort. Finished second that day to Gayeth. Gayeth actually went on to win a Group 2 and actually finished third to Waldgeist. And Waldgeist just finished third to Enable in that terrific race on Saturday. So if you just want to compare names on the European circuit that you may know, Sacred Life, I think, is going to be 5-2. I don't think that's going to hold at all. I think it's probably going to be 7-5, 6-5 in this spot. But I still think is a deserved favorite in here with that Euro kick. And the fact that this horse isn't facing any world beaters, I do like Sacred Life on top. Underneath the 8, though, Ticonderoga, 4-1 on the morning line. The other Chad in here with Javier Castellano going to be aboard. The return in 2019 was very good down at Gulfstream Park. Actually got a pace to run into that day. Got that 92 buyer and that optional claimer. Then had a steep class test in the Turf Classic. Again, if you remember that, Churchill Downs. It was a little bit of an off going that day on the turf course. They had zero pace to run into that day. And this horse really just didn't get any race flow at all. Didn't run really well then that race. And then in the poker, they didn't really go that fast early. They came home quick late. And this horse was 7th that day. But it was one of those interesting 7ths, only beating a length and 3/4. Got a 94 buyer. I think the way the race flows in here, Voodoo Song you know is going to go. Guido you know is going to go. I think it's going to be a pretty swift pace. Noble Indy actually has some speed as well. So I think the fraction is going to be strong in here. So I think Ticonderoga could definitely get a piece of this. I have in the 2nd spot. And then in the 3rd spot, Voodoo Song, a horse that needed the race last time out. There was no doubt coming off that October layoff that the horse needed that race in the Forbidden Apple up here at Saratoga. Since then, the workouts have been absolutely strong. Again, everybody remembers Voodoo Song for the horse for the course theory. 5 for 7 so far as wins goes up here at Saratoga. And again, those workouts suggest that this horse just needed that race, and since then is going to be much more fit in this spot. My only concern is the fact that Guido draws outside and has early speed as well. May soften up Voodoo Song in this spot. For me, I had it 5, 8, 7, and 3. Your thoughts one more time?
5, 2, 9, and 7.
All right, that's going to bring us to our break. When we come back, we'll take a look at the big 2 at Saratoga on Saturday. It's the Grade 1 Test and the Whitney. Looking for a fantastic meal? Stop by Malcolm's, a unique farm-to-table restaurant experience. Located at 617 Union Street in Schenectady, Malcolm's offers locally grown fresh foods, mouth-watering flavors, an enhanced drink menu, and terrific service. Malcolm's is a sure bet during Saratoga season. Make your reservation today. Welcome back to the Capital OTB Stakes Preview. Mike Callahan, Sully Crotty talking about this weekend's upcoming action. We went through 3 so far. We have 2 more to talk about. And it's the big 2 on Saturday up at Saratoga. It's the Grade 1 Test and the Grade 1 Whitney. Let's talk about that test as we take a look at Saratoga race number 8 on Saturday. You're going to see a field in here of 7. You're going to see the morning line favorite, slight morning line favorite, with the number 2, Bellafina. Going out for Simon Callahan, Flavien Prat's going to be in town. I know you're a big enthusiast of Flavien, who's unbelievable everywhere it seems he goes. And this horse, to me, coming off that 5th place performance in the Kentucky Oaks that day, I didn't think it was that bad of an effort considering the horse was so much farther back than usual, but it was a horse that was coming in off of 3 consecutive victories. This horse likes to be forwardly placed. The workout pattern suggests this horse is ready to redeem herself in this spot. I had on top, but I know there's other alternatives in here, and you may have gone a different direction.
Yeah, I did. I like Chad's horse in here, Royal Charlotte. I have 5, 2, and 1, and I just remember when I saw Bellafina was coming to the test, I said if it's a short field, I'm going to use Bellafina because I've never been a fan of Bellafina in deep fields. Those 2 deep fields were the Breeders' Cup, and then last time out in the Kentucky Oaks. So, but with shorter fields, this horse has done very, very well. So, I'm going to use Bellafina in the pick 5. I think this is going to be my cut race in here. I'm a little against Covfefe in here for Brad Cox. I'm 5, 2, and 1. I think Royal Charlotte is going to be a little bit ignored on the morning or on the odds board because I think the 1, 2, and the 3, deservingly so, are going to take all the money. I think Royal Charlotte, you can get 7-2 in here, and this is a horse that looked like an absolute monster last time out. Beating a decent horse in Cookie Dough, as we know, Cookie Dough had a good run down at Gulfstream, ran okay in the Kentucky Oaks, ran okay in the Black Eyed Susan as well. But this horse was 5 wide last time out in a nice field of 5 and drew completely clear. The same thing happened at Monmouth, and who's better than Chad Brown having horses come in from maiden to optional claimer to non-graded stakes to graded stakes to a grade 1. So I just think Royal Charlotte fits this race perfectly. There's enough speed in here for Javier Castellano to sit behind. This horse does not have to be 5 wide. And again, I thought the victory ride was very, very impressive for Royal Charlotte. I'm going to use on top. I think you can get 7-2, 3-1 in the spot. Bellafina and Serengeti Empress underneath. Serengeti Empress last time out ran suicidal fractions in the Acorn, lost to a monster in Guarana, as we know, who won the Coaching Club American Oaks. But they went fast in the Kentucky Oaks as well. Now they're going to stick with one turn like in that Acorn to 7 furlongs, and a horse that won by 13 lengths in a stakes race coming out of the Schuylerville last summer. So I think Serengeti Empress, with her speed, can be very dangerous in here. I just think she's going to get caught a little bit. Bellafina has shown nice closing speed, but I think if it's a speed duel in here, it just sets the race up perfectly for Royal Charlotte in here. And Kofefe is a horse that's going to go. Kofefe had a very, very game effort, I thought, against Mia Mischief. Awestruck as well was in that race. Awestruck didn't run too well yesterday. Mia Mischief lost last week as well. So I'm a little against Kofefe in here with the amount of speed. I just think Royal Charlotte gets the ideal trip in here. And to the outside of Royal Charlotte, Please Flatter Me is definitely going to go to the lead as well. So for me, I know Serengeti Empress can handle quick fractions. We saw it the last 2 starts. It's tough to hold off Guarana, as we saw in person in the Coaching Club. So for me in the test, I'm going 5-2-1.
Yeah, I had it 2, 5, and 1, so same 3, just different order. Bellafina, I like the cutback from the 1 1/8 to 7. I think arguably her best race, and Buyers Wise will tell you that, was a race going 7 furlongs at Santa Anita back in January of this year. So the horse is 2 for 2 at the distance, does not need the lead, and I think that's key in here, and I'm glad you brought that up. Serengeti Empress drawing the rail is going to go. She's a horse that just needs the lead to win. We've seen it each and every time. She did run huge last time in the Acorn to finish second to Guarana. I did like that effort, and even back when she upset in the Kentucky Oaks, she set some honest enough fractions. They didn't really come home strong that day, but early on she was setting some swift fractions. She was able to hang on. She did draw the ideal trip that day, considering no one really pressed the pace. But, she's just fast enough to do so. Kofefe is the X factor in here, and you and I are both against her in this spot. And it's the fact that 7 furlongs is a question, and the fact that she's got to go up against Serengeti Empress early and also Please Flatter Me. So I just think the fact that I like this horse a lot. I just don't like her in this spot. So I think next time, either shorten it up to 6 or maybe it's a different type of race flow. I think this race sets up much better for Bellafina or Royal Charlotte. And the question mark about Royal Charlotte, who I have in the second spot, is the fact of what has she beat so far, because she's 4 for 4 lifetime. The buyers show you that she needs to make a step forward comparative to the big 3 that are in here. And it was a nice effort against beating Cookie Dough last time by 4. She does have that effort where she beat Bingwa, who I do like out of the Wesley Ward barn. I thought that was a good effort as well, and that was 3 starts back. But again, she's one that needs to make a step forward. But the way the race shapes up in here, you have to move up on your chart. So for me, I originally didn't like Royal Charlotte, but when I saw the race sort of developing on paper, I like Royal Charlotte a lot more in this spot based off of the pace alone. So I have Bellafina on top, Royal Charlotte in the second spot, and then Serengeti Empress in the third spot. And for me, it really comes down to how much pressure does Kofefe put on her. I think it's going to be a lot. I know you think it's going to be a lot. But if for some reason someone doesn't break well or some sort of scenario happens that we just don't see on paper, I think Serengeti Empress is going to be dangerous. And if you can get that 7-2 price, she's one that I want to use in my mix, especially in those multis. So I have it 2, 5, and 1. Your thoughts one more time?
5, 2, and 1.
All right, we will take a look at the highlight on Saturday. It's going to be the Grade 1 Whitney, and you're going to see a ton of notable names in here. You have Preservationist coming off that big Suburban win at 3-1. You're going to see Yoshida as a long shot in here. Vino Rosso as a little bit of a long shot in here. You're going to see Thunder Snow, back-to-back Dubai World Cup champion, a winner of over $16.5 million, coming off that third-place performance to Matoli in the Met Mile. And then McKenzie as your morning line favorite, 7-5 on the morning line, coming off that second. And it was a troubled second that day. You saw the traffic, the fact that the horse was bottled up a little bit. Finally got some room, but the wire came too soon to beat Matoli on the stretch out back to 1 1/8, 7-5. Money Mike comes in town for Bob Baffert. Workouts are strong. What do you think of this field?
I think it's a very good field. I think it's very, very balanced on paper. I think you can make a case for 4 or 5 or even 6 in here. Because as we talked about, the way we're looking at the test, that's going to be my cut race. I'm going deep in here. I do not like the price at 7-5 for McKenzie. I know you're a big McKenzie fan, so I'll let you talk about McKenzie because I don't even have him in my top 3, so I have him 4th.
Threw him out of the money.
I threw him out of
That
the
is
money.
your bold move of the week.
It is, and I'm going to use him in the pick 5.
Okay.
I definitely am going to use him in the pick 5, but I'm going to make a small win bet on Preservationist for Jimmy Jerkins. I have 8, 4, 5, and 6. And I was going back and forth at who I liked, the Preservationist or Thunder Snow. Because Thunder Snow had this, I don't want to say the same trip with the traffic as McKenzie, but did not have the best of trips either. In that Met Mile, ran a 107 fire comparative to McKenzie. So I did go with Preservationist. I thought it was a very good effort last time. Beating Catholic Boy Pavel was a horse that I know you really liked last summer. And I thought 2 and 3 back, a horse that looked very, very good, stretching out for the first time from a sprint race, losing to I Love Lulu, who's a very good sprinter for Jason Service. But I just think the race sets up perfectly for this one. There is some speed to the inside. The Service runner has shown some speed, should be sitting off the pace. Thunder Snow's going to go. Vino Rosso, you would think, is going to run like in the Gold Cup, just sitting right off the lead because it worked out very good beating Gift Box. And McKenzie has shown speed, but in this spot, I see the horse sitting off the pace. So I think the 2 closers in here are going to be Yoshida and Preservationist, and I think Junior's going to work out an ideal trip in here. A horse, as I said, stretching out, has done nothing wrong. Beat some nice horses and a very good optional claimer running a 101 buyer at Belmont in the slop. I just think the distance is perfect. I think the race sets up for Preservationist, and hopefully the track is closing throughout the day, because if it's speed all day, I'm going to have to reevaluate this. So we're going to have to see how the track is running throughout the day. Thunder Snow is going to be on the lead in here, coming in from the Met Mile, winner of the Dubai World Cup twice. And beat a nice horse in Gronkowski. Gunnavera just seems to run second or third every time, so we'll see how he looks. I think he's coming to the Woodward, so I'm going to use Thunder Snow in the second spot. I think the lead could be dangerous in here. Again, we're going to wait to see how the track plays out. But I thought the Met Mile was very, very good against probably the 9 best, arguably the 9 best 4 and up horses in the country. So I'm going to use Thunder Snow in the second spot. Vino Rosso, I think if Vino Rosso obviously runs a repeat 105 buyer of last time out, it's going to be very tough to beat in here. But if a horse that I think it sits farther off the pace, like in the Jam Dandy, in the Travers, in the Carter, a horse that's going to have a little bit tough of a trip. So I think John Velasquez is going to send this one, send him a little bit closer to the pace and try to repeat of last time out. I think 6-1 is very, very good value for this horse. I'm just going to try to beat the horse in this spot. I thought the Carter, trying to run against World of Trouble sprinting was a little bit of a question mark, but stretching back out in California was very, very good. But I'm going to use McKenzie defensively. I know you like him a lot. And you always have liked McKenzie a lot, but in the Whitney, I went 8, 4, 5, and 6.
I do like McKenzie a lot, but my question, and a lot of people's question, is he better at 1 turn than 2? Because I loved him in the Malibu, and he was able to put in some solid efforts at the mile and an eighth and mile and a quarter distance, but those were second-place performances to Battle of Midway and Gift Box, and we saw Gift Box come back to finish second to Vino Rosso. So then it really made you question, maybe I was overhyping McKenzie a little bit, but then he raced in the Ali Sheba, the mile and the 16th distance. But again, that was one of those situations where he comes back and runs second to Mitole. So every time I want to make McKenzie a little bit bigger, and I think the 7-5 is square. I think that's a good morning line for him because he's a horse that doesn't need the lead in here. You're going to see Preservationist probably ahead of him. You're probably going to see Monaco Gila, the 3 horse you actually liked at Monmouth, and I actually thought you may use him in this spot at 12-1 as just a big price in this spot. But he is stepping up. But I think McKenzie sits a nice trip in here. I think he is going to show himself that he can win at 1 and 2, even though he's already raced really well at 2 turns before. I just think this is a race that he needs to stamp himself as a big player in this division. So I think he's going to get the job done in this spot. He isn't my strongest play on the card. I do like Sacred Life, a horse that we already talked about on the undercard, but I will use McKenzie on top. Underneath the 5, Vino Rosso. And again, I was looking for some long shots in here. I like Vino Rosso a little bit, and I do like Yoshida a little bit to round out some exactas, tries, and supers in this spot, and maybe even use them in my pick 4s and 5s as well. But Vino Rosso, I thought that was a better than it looks effort last time to win by 3/4 of a length against Gift Box. If you go back to the two-back race in the Carter, and you're right, it really wasn't anything that was eye-popping at all in finishing 4th, but I just thought the distance was not ideal. This is a horse that wants to go longer and has proved so time and time again. Is a one type of one run horse. Has no gears really. Vino Rosso is just a horse that can run consistent fractions each and every furlong. And again, the career best 105 buyer. This horse is a player in this spot, and I do like Johnny V being back aboard and has been aboard for all of this horse's mounts. So I like Vino Rosso at 6-5 or 6-1 on the morning line. And then the 4 in the third spot, Thunder Snow. I really didn't know what to do with Thunder Snow. I've liked him each and every time. I thought he ran a terrific third, only being a length to Mitole. But if you who ran a better race? McKenzie ran a much better race than Thunder Snow did in the Met Mile. So for me, I know the horse has been working out strong at Saratoga. I do like that 7 furlong workout to get the horse really tight. I do like Thunder Snow underneath, but for me, I didn't want to use on top. And then Yoshida has a little bit of a price in this spot. I think people forget that Yoshida came storming home late to win the Woodward, the 102 buyer, and then last time out, didn't do much running, finishing 6th in the Stephen Foster. I'll throw out that race. I just think needed one on the comeback from the Dubai World Cup. But I do think this horse, 1-for-1 at Saratoga so far. If you're looking for a little bit of a price, 10-1 is a good price on Yoshida. So for me, 6-5, 4-7 in the Whitney. Your thoughts one more time?
8-4, 5 and 6.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for this week's edition of the Stakes Preview. Any more thoughts before we wrap it up?
Again, the card at Saratoga is very, very good. I think you can cut in the test. I think you need to go deep in the Whitney, especially if you're not a fan of McKenzie like myself. And then the undercard's great as well, because I think World of Trouble may have his hands full in the Troy. And then the race after the Whitney, De La Rose, is very, very good as well. So it's just a great day of racing up there. And then in the evening, you got the West Virginia Derby to pay attention to, and then obviously Del Mar. So it's another great weekend of racing, and it's probably a lot of people's favorite weekend. And some people even like this weekend more than the Travers because it's not as crowded. So it's a very good weekend. And again, there's a lot of chances to make some money because I'm not a fan of a lot of the favorites and the undercard. So even if you get some short prices in the stakes races, the in between those races and the multiples, I think you can get some prices on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've been kind of amped up a little bit from the big performances last weekend with Imperial Hint breaking the track record at 6, and then Chancelot looked unbelievable for Jorge Navarro. So that's what I'm kind of most looking forward to, is you have some really short prices like World of Trouble and McKenzie who look to be primed for some big efforts. I can't wait to see if they're able to do so on Saturday, or maybe there's an upset. That's what we've seen, either big performances by those short price favorites, or they seem to run off the board and becomes the graveyard of favorites like always at Saratoga. So that's what I'm most looking forward to, is to see if one of these horses can put in a big effort. And we'll see what happens on Saturday. But for Mike Callahan and Sully Crotty, until we see you again, take care.
You're watching Capital OTB TV. Wager at CapitalOTBBet.com for the most comprehensive wagering site and the best player rewards in New York State.